Hello, today I'm going to explain Unit 8, which speaks about recommended intakes. I've chosen this unit for you to watch at home for two reasons. The first one, so that in the next class we can do the practical exercise, which I will tell you at the end of the unit. And the second reason, so that if you have any doubt of how to make the exercise, you can always watch the video again. Okay, so let's start. First of all, the number of calories the body consumes in a day is different for every person. Okay, we can see on the nutritional labels of the different foodstuffs the percent daily values normally are based on a 2000 calorie diet. For example, in this label you can see the percentage of the recommended intakes, and down here it says 2000 kilocalories. Okay, they assume that an average person needs this amount of energy per day. Okay, but in this unit we're going to learn exactly how much energy we need. Your body might need more or less than 2000 kilocalories. Okay, and what influences in these calculations? Your height, your weight, the gender, the age, and the activity level. All these factors affect your caloric needs. So, how many calories your body really needs? There are three main factors involved in calculating how many calories your body needs per day. The first factor we are going to see will be the basal metabolic rate. Okay, and we are going to explain what this means. The second factor will be the physical activity. And the third factor, the thermic effect of food. Okay, all these factors influence how many calories we need. So let's start with the first factor, the basal metabolic rate. What's the basal metabolic rate? The basal metabolic rate is the amount of energy your body needs to function at rest. Okay? This accounts for about 60 to 70% of the calories burned in a day, and includes the energy required to keep the heart beating, the lungs breathing, the eyelids blinking, and the body temperature stabilized. In general, men have a higher basal metabolic rate than women. Okay, so firstly, the first factor, the basal metabolic rate, is the energy you need during your rest, okay, while you're sleeping, okay, in ideal conditions, okay, with a constant temperature, when you're not moving at all, okay, just the energy you need for your body to function without making any physical exercise. How do we calculate the basal metabolic rate? There are lots of different ways for calculating the calories we need while resting. But, however, the most used formula is the Harris-Benedict formula. Okay, here we have two different formulas, one for women and one for men. Okay, I don't want you to study them for the exam. Okay, I just want you to know how to use them. So the basal metabolic rate is equal to these values, where we have to take into account the weight in kilos. Okay, this you will have to know it. The weight has to be in kilos, the height has to be in centimeters, and the age in years. Okay, careful with the height, okay, because sometimes you use it wrong and you use meters instead of centimeters. Okay, so this is one of the most accurate formulas we have, more or less, to calculate the energy you need while resting. The second factor we had was the physical activity. Physical activity includes everything from making your bed in the morning to jogging, Walking, lifting, bending, and just generally moving around burns calories. We all know this, but the number of calories you burn in any given activity depends on your body weight. Okay, so for example, you can have a light physical activity, a moderately active, a very active, or an extremely active. If you have a light physical activity, okay, normally you will use these values. Okay, these are values which are used to make an approximation. If you have a moderate physical activity, we will use these values, and if we have a high physical activity, we will use values which nearly number 2. Okay, I don't want you to know these numbers either for the exam. Okay, I just want you to know how to use them. And if we don't want an approximation, if we have to calculate exactly the calories we burn during a day, we can use the values in the following table. There's a mistake in this table. Okay, this number should be number 1. There is no activity whose value is lower than 1, because 1 is sleeping. Okay, so anything lower than 1, instead of using calories, will burn calories. So if you look at this table, you can see that the activities start from sedentary activity up to vigorous activity, and they include sleeping, resting, watching TV, eating food and snack, leisure and playing, agricultural daily, writing, desk work, transportation, dress oneself, slow walk, strolling, cooking, kitchen work. Okay, you can see lots of different activities. So when we do the exercise in the class, the first thing you will have to do will be to calculate how much calories you use during a day. So what I need you to do during the class, the first step you will have to do will be to sum up all the activities you do in a day. For example, I'm going to write here, I sleep 8 hours. I desk work 4 hours. I slow walk 1 hour. Okay, so you have to sum up all the activities you do in a day until all the time sums up the 24 hours we have in a day. Okay, this is important, because if not, you will make a mistake. Okay, all the activities you do will have to sum up 24 hours. Okay, later you have to look them in this table. For example, sleep has a value of 1, so we multiply it by 1. Desk work is here and has a value of 1.6, so we multiply it per 1.6. Slow walk is here, 2.1, so we multiply it per 2.1. Okay, when we have finished doing this table, the value we obtain, okay, we sum up all the values we obtain. This will be 8, this will be whatever. Okay, we will sum it up and we will divide it by 24 hours. Okay, and this value will be 1 point something. For example, 1.6. Okay, if we go to the previous slide, 1.6, I would be more or less here. Okay, between light and moderate activity. Okay, so we have 2 options to start the exercise to calculate the physical activity. That will be calculating exactly the calories you consume per day, or using an approximation with these standard values. Okay, so we have two ways of doing it. Nevertheless, independently of the way we use, the number we obtain, we'll have to multiply it per Harris-Benedict equation. Okay, we will calculate our basal metabolic rate with the Harris-Benedict equation, and we will multiply it per physical activity coefficient. Okay, but we haven't finished. We have a third factor, remember? So let's explain the third factor, which is the thermic effect of food. The thermic effect of food is a final addition to the number of calories your body burns. This is the amount of energy your body uses to digest the food you eat. It takes energy to break down to its basic, the food down to its basic elements in order to be used by the body. To calculate the number of calories you expend in this process, multiply the total number of calories you eat in a day by 0.1 or at 10%. Okay, important, the thermic effect of food is at 10% of the basal metabolic rate. Okay, so we have calculated the basal metabolic rate with the Harris-Benedict formula. So if we had, for example, in the basal metabolic rate 1,000 calories, at 10% of 1,000 would be 100. Okay, 100 kilocalories would be the calories we need to digest the food. Okay, so once again I'm going to repeat the three factors that affect the energy we consume each day. The first one will be the basal metabolic rate, that is the energy we consume to function at rest, and we use the Harris-Benedict formula to calculate the calories. Okay, the second will be the physical activity, and we can use either these values over here, or we can use, to calculate the physical activity, we use either these values, which are an estimation, okay, and we multiply them per Harris-Benedict equation, okay, or either we calculate all the activities we do in a day, okay, to obtain a similar value as before. And the last factor is the thermic effect of food, okay, which will always be at 10% of the basal metabolic rate. Okay, these are the calories we need to digest the food. Okay, this is why in other units we explain that eating food consumes calories, okay, because digesting the food needs calories. Okay, so here we have the final formula. The total number of calories a body needs in a day is the sum of these three calculations. Total energy expenditure is equal to the basal metabolic rate plus physical activity. We sum up when they are calories, but we multiply when it's a factor, okay? Plus the thermic effect of food, that, remember, was a 10% of the basal metabolic rate. Okay, 10% of the basal metabolic rate. So you have to learn how to calculate the total energetic expenditure. Okay, remember the three factors, don't forget any of them. We even have a fourth factor, that is the stress thermogenesis. Okay, the stress thermogenesis is when there is a really stress situation, like someone who has had a very severe accident, who has his body has been burnt a lot. Okay, we consume lots of calories in order to recover from this stress situation, so we will have to add some of the calories in this case. okay? But this is only in stress situation conditions, okay? Not in normal conditions. So this is what we will do at class, okay? You will have to calculate the total energetic expenditure, okay? Please revise the video if there's anything you need to watch again, okay? Nevertheless, in the class I will explain whatever you need again. By contrast, okay, once we calculate the total energetic expenditure we need, this comes from the nutrients we eat, okay? Remember, we have seen in Unit 2 that 1 gram of carbohydrates gives us 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of proteins gives us also 4 kilocalories, and 1 gram of fats gives us 9 kilocalories. So the energy we obtain in our diet comes from the sum of lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates, okay? Vitamins haven't got calories, minerals haven't got calories, okay? And we could add also alcohol, okay? Alcohol has also got calories, but this is in certain situations, okay? Normally the energy we get comes from these macronutrients. So once we have calculated the energy we use in a day with the basal metabolic rate, the thermic effect of food, and the physical activity, this value has to be exactly the same as the energy weight, okay? If I consume, if I consume 2000 kilocalories per day, I will need to intake 2000 kilocalories, okay? The calories we need in a diet are exactly the same, the calories we consume, okay? So this is how we calculate the calories a person needs in their diet. Okay, once we know the calories, later we can use the different percentages to calculate the proteins, the lipids, the carbohydrates, okay? We would advise as professional healthcare. Remember, we saw in previous units that proteins are more or less at 10-15% of the diet. Lipids should be lower than 30%. Specifying less than 10% of saturated fats, polyunsaturated fats 5-8%, and monounsaturated around 10%. Carbohydrates should represent a 55-60% of the calories per day, and we should eat 30-50 grams of fiber per day. Okay, these are the recommended intakes. Okay, the number of calories a person needs, there are no standard values, will be the same as the energy that person consumes. And once we have this number, we can calculate the different macronutrients that person needs, okay, with these percentages. So with this we finish Unit 8, which speaks about recommended intakes, okay? Remember, we have seen how to calculate the calories your body needs. We know this as a total energetic expenditure, and once we know this, the total energetic expenditure, once we know it, we can use this value to calculate the different macronutrients a person needs, okay? And this is what we will do in the next class. Okay, so see you then. Thank you for listening. Bye.